So, how would you want to do this? Do you want like some sort of, intro? Saying like, like welcome to first episode of Hotbar, or
yeah, we can have a quick intro being like, yo, welcome to Hotbar with Slav Boy and
Slav Boy.
Yeah, dude.
If you say it wrong, it sounds like Slob Boy.
With Slave Boy.
Slave Boy. Welcome, you fucking savages, to the first episode of the Hotbar podcast. This is the only show on the internet where we drink and talk about our favorite medium in the whole wide world, video games. I'm your host, Reaper, and joining me for now and forevermore, my good buddy Nexum. Nexum, how you doing?
Great.
All right. And today, to introduce ourselves to the world a little bit, we're just going to be talking about very generalized topics to kind of just let people know what we're about and, how we feel about certain things, not just about video games, but the industry as a whole. So we're going to be starting off with some pretty hard-hitting topics. And by the way, if you're underage for this podcast, fuck off. This isn't about the 13 to 14. This isn't for you guys, all right? 13, 14-year-olds. You guys should be, I don't know, watching Minecraft or something. But for us adults who are true gamers of the past, this is your place right now. And the first thing we're going to be going over are microtransactions. We're just going to be going into this kind of just like, we got the next one throws up every time he hears the word micro and transactions in the same sentence. It's just simply a topic that we both can agree is awful. It's the worst thing in the world to have ever happened to video games. I think the major point of this podcast is really just to, I come up with the topics, Nexum comes in blind, and then we we get his reaction.
We go from there, yeah. Which is perfect. I love that style.
Your reaction is what's going to make this show.
Yeah, I hope so.
So I've got a few questions to ask you, Nexum. First and foremost, the most important thing for this podcast is, what's your drink of choice tonight?
Oh, well, I'm actually a preppy white girl tonight. I'm drinking White Claws.
White Claws. What is White Claws?
Yeah, it is a hard seltzer.
Seltzer. I didn't know they made a hard seltzer.
Yeah, so I'm a preppy bitch, and hard tonight seltzer. Of all nights, don't know why I chose this.
I don't know either. You said you were going beer.
I was going beer, and then I walked in there, and I'm like, you fat piece of shit, get something. I'm like, get something a little bit healthier, and then I saw the White Claw seltzer, and I'm like, all right, you know what?
That's okay. Well, I did say that I was gonna get myself some more Stella, but I kind of went off kilter as well. I was like, I didn't feel like going to the store because people on the road suck at driving. So I just decided to put together a little Jack and Pepsi. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. The fuck is Jack and Pepsi? Right?
Yeah, right. Well, that's true.
I named it something a little special. It's called a Pep in My Step.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Not bad.
So not Coke, but Pepsi. Try it. I dare you to try it. You'll like it. Because Pepsi rules, Coke sucks. Anyway, so the first question about microtransactions, I know we went off a little kilter there. Anyway, is their effect on the industry as a whole? What are your thoughts on how this idea of selling little things to us here and there in our full $60 priced games has affected the industry? Do you think it's a positive effect, or is it a negative effect, or kind of like in between?
So the way that I look at it, honestly, is, and I'm going to go way back in time, not crazy way back in time, but like, think of like even, I don't know, let's go back 10 years, right?
Okay.
Your classic game comes out, right? it drops at whatever, $50 is probably like usually the price for like brand new games. No matter what console or PC game you're going to get, it's probably the price range, right?
Right.
You're getting back then what was supposedly a full, not supposedly, it was actually a full game at that time. You know, you paid your $50 and you got the whole thing. There were no additions. There were no things that were cut out. You know, developers took their time. They made full games, you know. Now we see this trend where it becomes like, all right, cool, spend $60 now for a game, but hold on, we're going to give you half the content because now we're going to add in $20 DLCs that come out each month. You know what I mean? There's a stupid trend where and well, sorry, that's not. I mean, I guess it's microtransactions / like not full games, right? Because it's in a sense, it's almost they kind of go hand in hand, right? Because my first memory of microtransactions, what I remember was playing TF2, right? Okay. I love the Valve games. I played TF2. And then all of a sudden, I just remember this big update, and it was just fucking hats. out of nowhere, you know, and it was like, it was kind of cool, right? It was like, oh, that's cool, you can like dress up your character a little bit, but holy shit, it went from like these little hats and then people went crazy for it, you know. These like these crates that started dropping in game, like, you know, they were selling. Actually, no, you couldn't even sell them yet because the Steam market wasn't a thing back then. Right. It was, you know, it was your own personal item that you could buy, or you would gain. You would gain, and then you would buy the keys, right, to unlock them. So it's like these little things that they sprinkle in that are like, haha, you got the crate, but you got to pay $2 to unlock it. So
just like CS:GO.
Yeah, exactly. And then we see the trend, right? It happened in TF2. And then it happened in a lot of the other Valve games. By the way, I'm a diehard. I love Steam games. I love Valve. I mean, my bringing up is literally the Half-Life series, just a little background info. And, you know, God, it's sad to see what that company has kind of become in these past few years. You know, like it's kind of disheartening because I truly like those are my core games right there, like CSS, CS 1.6, CS:GO, TF2, like all that shit, Half-Life 2, and it's just they're going downhill, you know. And especially what you told me at work today about that CS:GO now releasing a battle royale.
Oh yeah,
totally different topic, but my thoughts on that are like, really, guys, that's what you're doing. You're gonna jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and not only just, you know, the battle royale game that they have been working on, which probably didn't take them very long to do. You know, they come out with their own trading card game called Artifact, and I personally think it looks cool. It's got a very Dota 2 look to it, but at the same time, it's like, so wait a second, you're not going to work on Left 4 Dead 3, you're not going to work on Portal 3, you're not going to work on Half-Life 3, but you're going to work on these games that, like, who asked for Artifact?
Exactly right. You guys are basically ripping off Blizzard now. You're making your own like Hearthstone. Of the Dota world. I mean, from what I've seen too, like the reviews have been not that great about the game, right? It seems like, again, thanks to microtransactions, in-game purchases, if you were just to play the game for free right now, or actually it's not even free, you still have to pay like the $20 to get or $30. I can't remember. You know, you get your like base set of cards, whatever. And actually this goes hand in hand with Hearthstone and this new Artifact game, right?
Which is free, by the way. Hearthstone is a free-to-play game, so this is kind of a good comparison here.
True, actually, good call. Yes, Hearthstone is free to play, whereas Artifact, you know, you have to pay for it. But the core concept of it is the fact that you buy the game, and they're only going to give you a set number of cards, I guess, right? You probably have to go through some, because I like the Blizzard games, you know. I'm hesitating because
why'd you pause on games? Did you not are they not considered games to you?
No, not, see, I'm so upset because all the games that I like grew up playing, they're now I'm watching them die down, and I'm watching these companies like Valve, like Blizzard, like just some other ones I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but they're like, I see them transitioning into this whole like, you know, we don't make games anymore, we make money.
Right, we make live services.
Exactly, and you know, like for instance, I played a shit ton of StarCraft 2. When that first came out, I loved it. I played the crap out of it. And also I saw the Hearthstone beta when that was like first previewing like this card game. I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. You know, back as a little kid, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! I played Magic.
Yep.
Now I get to play a game like on my computer, Hearthstone, where it's got like similar things. Signed up for the beta, got a beta key, which is pretty dope. And I got into the early access, started playing it, but again, there was this theme even in like that early access or even during official release. It's not the full game. There's no, you can't, well, you can grind a lot to earn these, you know, coins, quote unquote, that you can then buy packs of cards. But to do that, you need to spend hours and hours of literally just playing the game. And honestly, a lot of people, I feel like, especially, you know, for my shoes, like I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
There needs to be some kind of progression system, I feel like.
Yeah, the grind has become synonymous with these types of games now that have microtransactions in them, which is unfortunate. And it's kind of weird how, you know, games like Artifact have kind of gone back and virtualized the TCGs that we grew up with, like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, where you had the starter packs, they were like $20, and then all the extra little packs you bought like for, you know, a couple of bucks a piece. And so it's just like they've taken that and just virtualized it. But apparently it was okay back then for physical cards, but it's not okay for virtual cards. I don't understand.
No, you know? Actually, that's funny, but you bring up a really good point, though. I didn't even think of that. Technically, right, what you just said, even besides like the virtual game, right, it was still happening because, like you just said, you know, oh, cool, I'm going to play Yu-Gi-Oh! But for me to do that, I need a base deck or whatever was like the starting thing, right? Right. But then you're playing kids and you're getting your ass beat because, oh my God, he's got 5 Blue Eyes White Dragons and I have Jigglypuff, whatever. And you're getting destroyed and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I got to buy more cards. So you get into this, like, honestly, it's like this like weird like addiction of like, oh my God, like I need more and more and more. And here we see with microtransactions, you know, if you don't have that, I mean, you know, now more than ever, it's not even, I guess, like things to like help you get ahead in the game. Yeah. The thing that we see now more than ever is just, it's so basic. It's such a smart concept. And I swear to God, like the first few game companies that thought of this, I mean, they're honestly, I hate them, but they're geniuses. Yeah. It's just skins, literally. Yeah. It's all it is, right? They're reskinning what's already in the game, but they are upcharging a crazy amount of money, right? Right. Like for instance, actually, I remember playing CSS back in the day, and I don't know if you played CSS at all. Did you?
No. And by the way, for those of you who don't know what that is, it doesn't stand for cascading style sheets, you fucking nerds. It's actually Counter-Strike Source. It was the one that was before Counter-Strike Go. So, yeah. Please continue.
Thank you for that. So, ironically, back in the day, you know, if you wanted cool looking shit within the game, you could go to FPS Banana, which was a website, and you can actually download. I remember doing this because I was one of them. You know, FPS Banana was a collection of basically people would create their own skins, their custom sounds, like you name it. And it wasn't just for CSS. They actually had it for a variety of games at the time, right? That was kind of like our first, like as a community, I feel like our first foot in the door to, I guess, kind of like modding in a sense, right? So, yeah, like I clear as day right now, you know, like one of the first things I got, I'm like, wow, the shotgun in CSS looks like fucking shit. I was like, I need something. I need to look like the Terminator, right? Like I need that like big ass like hulking behemoth in my hands, and when I shoot it, it sounds like a mammoth rifle. You know, it's like loud, it's in charge, and that's what I ended up doing, right? And back in the day, it's free, man. Yeah, you know, if you knew anything about like kind of like how computers worked and where you got to put files, it was easy for us, right? Download the files, go into the games directory, go into the you know, that directory that holds all the skins or wherever it may be, drop it in there, bam, you're good to go.
Done.
But the only thing though, back in the day was that is only you. Nobody else in the game is going to see what you have as a skin. So to everyone else who's basically playing plain, right, to them, it just looks like you're still holding that piece of shit shotgun.
Oh yeah, no. And that actually reminds me, I don't mean to cut you off, but that reminds me of me doing that with Final Fantasy 11, believe it or not. People went into the game files, they modded, I can't remember what the hell it was called. It was the specific file extension, but you could do exactly that. You could change the way your character looked, and nobody would be able to see it but you. So it technically wasn't like cheating or modding or anything like that. So you wouldn't get banned or anything because it's not registering on the server. It's just doing it client side. So I thought it was a really cool thing. But I think out of this entire rant that you're going on, out of this entire conversation, and ladies and gentlemen, we have to blame mods for microtransactions existing.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
We have found the answer. Why do microtransactions exist? Mods. No, I'm just kidding. Mods were necessary, but at the same time, you can see the correlation between the two. It's like, well, companies started seeing, well, modding is a big deal, and we could make a buck on this. And so then we see crap. We see bullshit like fucking Bethesda's store, you know, trying to sell you mods, the Creation Club, trying to sell you mods through Fallout and Skyrim. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? No.
And aren't those correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't those actually, I'm not like, I played a little bit of Skyrim. I never really got like too heavily in the game, but what you're talking about right now, are those actually Bethesda's own mods, or are they literally just like using the community's mods and selling them to people?
Well, what they did is that they made up a couple of mods on their own, which you could, a lot of the mods were just shit you could find on the Nexus, which is the website that is used for the mods. And then they started hiring, quote unquote, hiring modders to make mods for their store. So they weren't stealing and, you know, charging. They were actually hiring the people who made the mods. And somehow the people who made the mods made them worse on the Creation Club than if you went to the Nexus. So I'm just like, okay, we're going to pay $10 for this skin that I could get the exact same thing from the same mod author that not only looks better, but is free. You know, I mean, it's a poor attempt. They tried it with Skyrim through Steam to sell us mods, and it failed miserably. 3 days later, they took it off the Steam marketplace, and then they try this shit with Creation Club, and somehow it's still going. I don't know. I guess it's a system they feel like they shouldn't take away because, oh, maybe someday. But, you know, people are still modding for free. People are still using the Nexus. I do it. And, you know, it's just, it's gotten to this point where companies feel as though, like you said, they can cut shit out and then just put it back in, but you have to pay for it. It's like when Capcom got caught locking stuff out of the disc. They got caught doing that where stuff on the disc was there. It's in the disc. But they somehow figured a way to lock it out until you paid for the DLC. And
no
it's like,
way.
What?
Really?
It was absolutely bonkers. I can't believe that I saw what I saw, but it was true. They admitted to locking out content on the disc, stuff that was already there. So there was the beginning of companies taking stuff out of their games and just reselling it to you when it was in the base game to begin with. I mean, it's just, microtransactions have become this plague on the industry. And, you know, I guess for better or worse, it's a learning experience for everyone involved. Maybe not so much for like EA and Activision, but it's a learning experience for the players and the developers to see the amount of greed that you have to not only charge $60, but also then charge more. And I guess you could say that DLCs in the past, expansion packs in the past, could have been seen as microtransactions, but they're not. There's a big difference. An expansion pass adds like 20 or 30 hours onto your already existing game. Microtransactions are like little tidbit pieces of shit that nobody like wants, you know?
Right.
And the whole...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just the whole excuse of, well, it's a choice. You can choose to pay it or not. It's like, that's not the point. The point is that we're allowing them to put it in the game by buying it, for the people, the whales as they're called, to buy this stuff, because they're always going to buy it because, oh, well, it's a Bethesda game and I support Bethesda in anything they do. So give me that skin for $10. Oh, another $20 for this gun over here. And before you know, it snowballs, and the microtransactions there to stay.
Exactly right. And I think the biggest thing too that we're seeing, right, like you just mentioned, there's that, yeah, technically you have the opportunity, right? Like for a lot of games nowadays, like there are microtransactions, well, almost every game, right? But the opportunity for you as the player, like, if you have self-control, you don't need to buy it. You know, you can play the game just how it is for free, never spend a dime on it, for instance, right? But as soon as you walk by someone with that dope ass looking gear and a gun on their back, and you go, holy shit, how do I get that? And then you realize it's like, oh, okay, I got to spend $20 on that skin or whatever. It's like, it's that little seed that they plant in your mind from literally billions of players online, right? Yep. And you start seeing all this and you go, I have no self-control. I need to buy it. And the funny thing is too, they're pretty smart about it, because we've been actually spitting out some big numbers. But for instance, some people might hate me. I've definitely jumped on the Fortnite bandwagon. Yeah. I mean, as we all have. As almost anyone has, right? And holy shit, like, to me, out of a lot of the games in the past that I've played, or like have at least attempted to play in the past few years, like this is the first one where I really am. I am enjoying myself. Yeah, sure. There's a fuck ton of microtransactions, and actually, I don't know if you knew this, but there was earlier in the year. Wow, why am I blanking on the company who made Fortnite?
Epic Games.
Epic Games, thank you. They released a statement where they had officially broken, get this, just from in-game purchases alone, right? So literally just microtransactions, $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
That blew my mind.
Oh yeah.
That is unbelievable. Like, that is $1 billion of just people going, yeah, you know what? I want that skin right there. And why I started talking about that is because their prices, technically, they're not that expensive, right? Like, I think it's 1,000 V-Bucks is $10, right? So like 100 coins is $1. So, you're getting a free game. You can play the shit out of it. You can play it literally for the end of time right now, right? But once you spend $10, you can kind of spoil yourself, be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy that one skin, right? But they sucker you in, and especially what they did, which was pretty smart on their end, is the whole battle pass system. Oh right? Yeah, and we're actually seeing this more and more. Actually, they weren't the first ones to obviously come up with this. We saw this in Call of Duty games. I remember CS:GO started implementing this in their game. It was this whole thing of, and it's not a lot. It's like, spend $10 right now for the start of they call them seasons. And the season might span between, I don't know, a month, 3 months, something like that. And as you play more and more and more, you can occur a bunch of different, you might be unlocking skins, different like emotes, whatever they may be. And like in previous games that I've played where they've had that, like, you spend the $10 and yeah, sure, you can get like all those cool little dances and skins and whatever they may be. What I like about Fortnite's battle pass is the fact that, and I actually did the math out here, because I actually started playing fairly, in the beginning. I think it was like beginning of season 2, right? Yeah. I played for a little bit, got a feel for the game, and I realized, you know what? Screw it. I got suckered in. I'm like, I'm going to buy the battle pass, and it's only $10. I spent the $10. And then I realized, though, as I'm looking throughout like all the things that you can unlock, what they did was you can actually get your V-Bucks back. Oh yeah. And I did the math out, and if you had actually just spent $10, no more, you can play well, you have to. That's a key. You need to play and hit all the battle pass tiers,
right?
But you'll make your money back, and you can infinitely keep buying that battle pass.
Yeah, and actually, I was actually going to go into something where if you also purchase the co-op, those V-Bucks that you earn in the co-op actually translate over, so you could just pay $30 or when it's on sale 15 or whatever, get the co-op, play the co-op. Those V-Bucks are available for you in Battle Royale, and so you could essentially never have to pay for the Battle Pass, even for the first time. So, I mean, yeah, Epic Games, what they did was extremely smart. And that whole idea of what you said where, oh, well, you see somebody in a game with something that you want, and it kind of like coaxes you into, going to get it. The skeeziest implementation of that I can think of was Call of Duty World War II, where you could literally, like, you could get an achievement for having somebody watch you open a loot box. And it's like, what the fuck is that? Like, the loot box, the stupid thing comes dropping out of the sky, and the things open up right in your face, right in front of everybody, so they can see what you got. And half the time it was like garbage anyway. But the fact of the matter is that Activision went so far as to be like, just to throw it in people's faces, buy this loot box and show them what you got. Come on, you know you want to. And it's just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, that is a real dick move.
Yeah, because they look for things like that, right? Because, like, I mean, there are gamers, right? Like, who achievement hunt. That's like some people's like goal, right? Some people do the whole like, I'm gonna explore 100% of the game. Other people are like, I don't really give a shit about that. I'm gonna get every achievement in the game. And then there's like laid back people that are like, I'm just gonna play the game.
Right.
So as that whole they saw the thing where people are like, oh, I got to get every achievement. They're like, well, for you to get an achievement, you got to watch some fucker open a box and get a skin. Like,
it's a really
all right, whatever.
Thing.
Obviously, did it actually, like, did it bring them profit? I'm sure it did. It probably didn't do a lot. Maybe 10% of the people that ever got that achievement, they probably ended up being like, oh, fuck it, I'll get a box too. It could only cost me $5.
Yeah.
But what people aren't realizing, and I'm actually seeing this too, slightly off topic, but not really, is mobile games.
Oh yeah.
Right?
They started.
Oh my God. They technically, yeah, exactly. Like, mobile games is a completely different world. They are raking in the money because like all these mobile apps I'm hearing. I mean, I saw like a thing on the news where a guy had spent like over 30 grand on this like Japanese MMO style game on whatever, and they literally interviewed him and like his family, and I'm like, holy shit, my dude, he's. His wife is cooking him meals and everything, and he's in his living room. He's like, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, I play now."
Wow.
It's sickening, right?
I'm
it's
surprised that his wife didn't beat the shit out of him for spending that much money.
Exactly right. But apparently, by him, it's like, oh no, it wasn't like our fun. It was all my money.
Yeah.
He's kind of covering himself. But yeah, a little off topic. But anyways,
either way, we've been talking a lot about the cosmetic side of microtransactions, which some people will argue, and I guess I've come to grips with the fact that cosmetics obviously don't change the game. They don't do anything for you except make you look cool if you want to. But the worst offender, of course, with microtransactions of recent memory is Star Wars Battlefront 2, where the microtransactions directly affected the game. Now, I purchased this game twice recently, both times on sale for like $7 a piece. Okay, I literally think that game is only worth $10 maximum, and I bought it because I wanted to play the story. I like my achievements, my trophies, whatever. But I was like, I'll do that on stream. Let me try the multiplayer. Let's see if it's even like improved. First game I get into, I'm getting nothing but bombarded by a hero. And I can't remember what his name is.
Got rocked.
Dude, this guy, he went like 50 some odd kills and 4 deaths. It was retarded. All because he played this one character. I can't remember. It's that lizard looking guy. And I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. But every time I saw him, he was still running around. He was still blowing people up with his stupid grenades. And by the end of it, I was like, oh, I got some loot boxes. Not at the end of the match, but I had them prior to getting into the match. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see what kind of cosmetics I got. I opened one, and before I know it, there's a card on the far right for an improved grenade. And I'm like, I thought they took this shit out. I thought you couldn't get upgrades in this anymore. I thought it was just cosmetics, emotes, and skins, or whatever. And there's a fucking card right there giving me an increase in my grenade damage. And I'm like, okay. And before I left that match, I was like, this is fucking gay. Thank you all for reminding me how shit this game is. And I left. And I was just like, this is, it was unbelievable. And I'm like, wow, I guess I put too much faith into EA. I mean, I didn't really have faith in them to begin with, but, you know, it would have been nice if they kept their word and said, yeah, we'll just take them out. You know, just cosmetics only. There's fucking liars, dude. Fucking liars.
EA is probably the biggest company that we can look back, you know.
Yep.
Like, I mean, think of like as kids, right? What were we playing? We were playing like all like GoldenEye, like all the 007s, all these like all the sports games, like fucking NFL Blitz 2. I remember I had that on GameCube, and I thought that game was the shit, right?
Yeah.
Like back then, EA. Yeah, like they were a pretty good game company. They were damn good. They were damn good, right? And then as time went on, oh my god, they just I don't know what happened. I think they got way too greedy, and they just thought of every possible way just to make more money, right? Like as your example right now, I feel like any game that incorporates any type of microtransaction that benefits the player, you can go fuck yourself. Right? Because in all honesty, it's such a stupid concept, right? It's when I buy a game at full price or whatever the price is, I want to be able to be, especially if it's a multiplayer game, right?
Yep.
I don't want to come encounter with someone that's got a better gun than me or has like this other, you know, that it should never be that way. But, you know, obviously game companies saw a benefit of, hey, you know what, spend an extra $2 and your gun's going to do 50 more damage to every player in the game. And sure as shit, you know, you get kids who are complete trash of multiplayer games, right? And they go, yeah, I'll spend the extra $2. I'll be better than everybody else.
I will say this though, you know, and it wasn't just the guy who was playing the hero, but every person I got killed by had, you know, tier 3 or 4 like cards, you know, purple or better. And so to jump into the game now is completely just a waste of time. It's
a waste of time. You're right. Because if you don't go into that game right now, at least dropping $50 to $100, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
Then every game that you load up into, you're probably going to get rocked, you know, because because right from the get-go, I remember, right, when they had released the game, like all the, is it heroes, right? They called all the, like, the Jedi's heroes or whatever.
Every one of them's heroes, even if it's a villain.
Right. Okay. So right from the beginning of the game, like no one had access to them, right? You like needed to buy it.
60,000 credits.
Yeah. I don't even want to know what that comes out to, like, money wise.
I think somebody actually did the calculations. It was 40 hours of grinding for one hero.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Or you pay like $300. I mean, it really, to get all of them or something. It was a mind-boggling number. And the worst of it is that I actually got enough points to be Luke Skywalker. The moment I step out in the open, Darth Maul is throwing me around and I die instantly. And I'm like, I'm fucking Luke Skywalker and I just got owned. What just happened? So it was absolute chaos. And I was like, this is not a fun game, even in the slightest. I personally believe if you bought into that shit the moment the game came out, you should have had your money fucking taken away the moment they decided to change it. I'm not even joking. When they changed their mind and said, we're taking the microtransactions out, they should have not refunded everybody's money, taken the cards away that everybody bought, and that's it. Like, nobody gets a refund. We take the cards away.
Right.
Done.
Yep.
And I would have laughed. I would have been like, that's your fault for buying into that shit.
Yep.
But that's just my opinion on that. I think, you know, it's dumb to buy into anything that gives you an advantage. You know, what happened to the good old days where you played a game and you felt good about unlocking something? I mean, the best instance of that has got to be the Modern Warfare series. 1, 2, and 3. Like, especially in 3, your guns had levels, they had attachments to unlock. It was so worth getting a level up because you knew you were going to get something new. And it was awesome. And now it's just like, I'll just buy it. Yeah, okay, that makes the game fun. And I canceled my Devil May Cry 5 pre-order. I was so excited for that game because it looks gorgeous, and I love Devil May Cry. Until I found out it has microtransactions in it. Could you guess what those microtransactions are? You buy the orbs to get your abilities, and that's it. Like, you get all your abilities. You can buy all of your abilities, never unlocking a fucking thing, and just playing through the game. And I'm like, then what's the fucking point of playing the game?
What's the point?
Oh, I like the story. It's like, okay, that's only one part, but now you're not unlocking anything. You're not feeling the progression.
There's no progression. Exactly.
There's no reward, and that's the biggest issue. Is that I guess people don't want to feel like rewarded anymore. Like, I like feeling like I gained something, I achieved something. That's why I like trophies and achievements, because they're fun to get. Because in the mind of a human being, we have this reward system built in where we just love to get shit for doing something good. And it's something that we can't help. It's just in our nature to want that. And by allowing people to just go ahead and buy all those orbs and get all the abilities right off the bat. None of the older Devil May Cries allowed you to do that. You had to unlock all your abilities and different combos and stuff like that. Now you could just buy them. Well, what's the fucking point then? Why would you play the game? You're just playing to pass the first level with ease. I mean, they even put a one-button combo button. I mean, you literally can just sit there and, like, on PlayStation 4, hit triangle. And it looks badass. Don't get me wrong. You know, if you want to be real badass, you want to get, S ranks, you just tell the game, I want one button combo. You just keep smashing the triangle button, apparently, and you're just doing all these amazing combos. The system's doing it for you. I'm like, yeah, but the reward is to do it yourself.
Right.
And now that's taken out.
Yeah. And I feel like, I hate to say this, but like, us growing up as kids, right? It was a different generation, right? And I see this more and more in younger kids now, where they, and this is, I mean, I'm gonna go slightly off topic again, but not really, right? Nowadays, the younger generations, when they're growing up, I'm noticing, because I have a younger sister, and I'm noticing that who plays sports, she plays tennis, right? And cool. She she goes to tournaments and she plays, but I went to one of them and I'm noticing every kid that played got a trophy.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of scratched my head and I thought, wait a minute, what happened to like first, second, and third place? And then after that, you can go fuck yourself because you're not good enough.
What the fuck happened to being a loser?
Right. Yeah. Nowadays, it's almost like frowned upon if you're bad. No, that's human nature. Like, you're either first or last. I'm sorry. If you look at it in any like major sport or any esport for that matter, right? You always have those top dogs. You have Na'Vi, you have Cloud9, you have all these top tier teams that are always there. Why? And you wonder why? Because they're the best of the best. Yep. You know, all those other kind of no-name teams. Yeah, sure, you're gonna get. You know, who knows, in the next few years, we're going to see like an underdog appear out of nowhere, just because, talent is a weird thing that it kind of just happens naturally. Right. You get those people that come out of nowhere who are just amazing at something, right? Whether it be video games, football, tennis, yada, yada. But now we have this mentality of like, teaching like all the younger generations like, oh no, we're all winners, yay. Even though little Billy came in fucking last and got his ass whooped, you're still at the same level as fucking Sam, who's number one now and completely dominated the rest of the group. There's no, you know what I mean? And I feel like I feel like not really society, but like the parents, it's a mix of everything, right? Like ourselves, we're to blame for that, because we just hate the feeling of being bad at something. Yeah. And that's the sad reality of it is that, I mean, holy shit. Like if like for me, like I'm not the greatest at any multiplayer game that I've ever played. I'm not a top tier gamer. Nope. I never will be.
I'm not either.
I'm decent at some games, right? But to be on like on a professional team, God no. And I mean, it'd be cool for a little bit, but I don't see myself in that position.
I mean, a professional team, it would require, basically we'd have to quit our day job to be a pro gamer.
Like that is exactly, and that's a lot of pro gamers, right? Like you go to like these, you know, like the house that you live in is like whatever they had, like Cloud9. I'm sure has like
they got a team house. Everybody's got.
They have like the team house. Everyone's got the team house. All the players live there. They have their coach that's there with them. Whatever.
Yeah. But that is their job. That's their day job. They play for 12 to 15 hours a day just for this one game.
Just exactly. Yep.
To
be the best of the best.
Yep.
But to your thing again, yeah, we like people nowadays for some reason it's like there's no sense of reward anymore.
Nope.
You know, we get these games, we spend the $50, but then we see this little thing that's like, oh, spend $5 more and you'll be able to kick everybody's ass for.
Oh God,
you know, and everyone's suckered into it. You know,
Yep.
It's because nobody likes losing.
I think that's why the Soulsborne games are so popular, because they don't reward you. They're just like, get your ass kicked a few times and learn how to play the game
and learn how
bitch.
to right. Yeah, but if you notice too, that series only goes to like a certain group of people, right? Mm-hmm. Who actually like challenge, who like the reward, who are like at the when you beat that game, you're like, holy fuck! Like I beat it because it was hard as hell. You know, I grinded, I learned how the enemy moved, like all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. It's like, you know, generally those games are not hard. That's the thing that people are getting kind of like skewed, is that the Dark Souls games and Bloodborne, they're not hard. They're just as hard as you want them to be.
Exactly right. You just need to learn the mechanics of the game, right?
People have proven they can go through it at level 1 with no upgrades. You just have to be smart about it. And that's it's an amazing concept that we haven't seen until the first Demon Souls, which, by the way, was the first game. For those of you who forgot that Demon Souls actually existed, Demon Souls was on PlayStation 3. It was the first of the Souls games. It didn't do so well, didn't do so hot, and then the next time they came out with a game, Dark Souls was a huge hit, and it was something we'd never seen before, something that was just, oh my god, a game is actually challenging? What a concept! You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's mind-boggling that that's what it took to get people to want to play video games, like really play them, is to have a game so fucking hard that you have to learn by your mistakes. Wow. You learn by losing? Oh my god.
Right, exactly. And like actually the funny thing, I remember so I love the Diablo series, right? I remember playing D2 back in the day, where PvP back then was like, holy shit, like it's all or nothing, right? Yep. So you can have your character join a PvP server, and if you want to talk shit in game and be like, yo, I'll wreck you as my fucking barb right now, let's go at it. But if you lost and you're going up against a guy that's kind of a douche, you just lost everything, because he's going to pick up everything that you had on you.
Yep.
And that's game, right? Yep. Obviously, as time went on, again, we saw a slight trend of like, oh, PvP only. If I die, I get my body back. It's like, fuck you, dude. Yeah. Like, you got to have at least like 10K gold on you or whatever. And if I win, I'm taking that shit from you.
Oh, yeah. No, and you know, the thing is, I was actually, when they announced Diablo 3 and they said that they were going to work on PvP arena type sort of thing, I was actually excited. I was like, I'm going to be the demon hunter and I'm going to, you know, flip circles around people. I was excited. I was like, damn, I can't imagine what a PvP arena is like in a dungeon crawler. I've never seen it before, because I didn't play D2. I've started with Diablo 3. I knew the series, but you know, I started with Diablo 3. I love the game, and when PvP was actually not implemented, because as we all know, Blizzard has a bit of an issue balancing things. There'd be no balance. The classes are retarded. Yeah. You know, the classes in Diablo 3 are extremely unbalanced, as if they were to go head to head. I mean, the Crusader can pretty much live through everything, and the Warrior can just whirlwind his way to victory. So it's not it's not balanced enough, and I'm kind of glad that they got rid of it, but it would have been a cool idea. But we're getting off topic here. Microtransactions suck. They don't belong in games that cost $60. If it's a free game, you can have them in there if you want, but just know that you don't have to buy into microtransactions, people. You really don't. It is not something that's a requirement, and I wish people would stop buying them, because they're just fueling the fire that is this giant industry machine of video games, that of developers and publishers that just think they can get away with this shit. Now, to move things along, we've been on this for about 50 minutes.
We have been.
Yeah. And so we're going to move on to the next
aggravating topic. It really
yes, it is. And so, you know, we're going to move on to the second question under microtransactions. So we're not leaving the topic. We're just moving on to the next question, which is, you know, really, it kind of does flow into it, which is, you know, we're kind of seeing a backward pedal with microtransactions with some companies. Indie developers are taking notice, and they're like, well, we can do better than this, and they don't put microtransactions, and it's like praised when a company, you know, especially a big company, doesn't put microtransactions in their game. It's like, oh my God, what an amazing concept, no microtransactions. It's like it's become so normal in such a short amount of time that we praise the companies that don't use them, and it's sad. But we are seeing a backward trend here of companies straying away from that model because they see the backlash that's happening with the bigger AAA games. And so what do you think the future of microtransactions is? Will they be in later games? Are they here to stay? Or do you think that this backward pedal is going to be strong enough eventually where microtransactions are basically just in the free-to-play games, or they just disappear altogether?
I mean, honestly, at this point in time, I feel like they're here to stay. I feel like we have suckered ourselves into such a state that no matter what new games are going to be coming out, or what future game or current games are already here to stay, right?
Right.
They're still going to be adding microtransactions. I mean, take Fortnite, for example, again, right?
Yep.
I mean, the whole Battle Pass idea, that's there to stay. I don't think they're going to get rid of that ever. I mean, until the game truly, like, season 25 comes out and it's like, whatever, 2 years down the road, and the game truly has no fan base anymore.
It's like flatlining. Yeah,
exactly. Then Epic Games is probably going to start spinning the wheels again and going, oh shit, maybe we need to think of something different, you know?
Or they might just get rid of it like they did with Paragon, which, by the way, I supported. All right, that was a damn good MOBA. That was
a pretty damn good game.
It was fun.
It was fun, yeah. But unfortunately, I think they're here to stay. I am liking this slight trend, I'm going to call it, in, you know, a lot of, like you mentioned, we're seeing it more in smaller companies and like these indie games, right? That you don't need microtransaction in those games, nor should they even be there, right?
To be successful, by the way.
Exactly, right. There's a lot of small games out there that are, I mean, shit. I mean, the story on them is beautiful. They're short, sweet, to the point, and they're worth the money. You know, there's no need for extra content because the developers actually took their time and thought out a well-developed game.
Yeah, and a perfect example for that is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I can't sing this game's praises enough. It was developed by Ninja Theory, one of the prominent indie developers in the industry at the moment, if you ask me. They make amazing games. They made DMC, which was with the different Dante, the emo Dante, which, by the way, was amazing. It was such a good game to play. They also made Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, or something like that. They've made nothing but great games. This game, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, not only looks like a AAA quality game in its graphics, but in its sound design, in its gameplay mechanics, in everything, and it comes out at $30. It succeeds. No microtransactions. All the marketing was done by the team themselves, simply by putting out dev diaries, showing people the process. Wow. That's all they did. They just showed their process. They asked the fan base, what do you want? What do you expect from this game? And here's what we're doing with it. And it succeeds at $30. And it's a game that has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a 10-hour experience. 10 to 15 hours, depending on how long you take, if you read all the stuff and whatnot. But it's a brilliant game because it's the core concept of it is the main character has schizophrenia. And so throughout the game, you hear these voices in your head. They used binaural microphones to capture the voices in your head so that when the player hears these voices, it sounds like they're coming from all over the place, like around you, behind you and stuff. And these voices so cool. are actually a game mechanic where they will talk to you while you're in battle, and they'll tell you, watch out behind you, or to your left, or to your right, or whatever. They use that as a game mechanic. It was absolutely brilliant. And it came out at $30 and succeeded because the developer had the drive, they had the passion, and they had essentially the backing of their fans to make this game happen. And I can't sing its praises enough. And no microtransactions at all. There's no DLC, but I don't think it really needed it because it was a full story. It came to a conclusion. Unfortunately, I haven't finished it yet, but the 2 hours that I did play of it, I was so engrossed in the game. It was the voice acting was top notch. The graphics were, you wouldn't even know it was an indie title. And the price point was well worth the purchase, 100%. So can games succeed without microtransactions? Absolutely. You just have to not be a shithead. Okay.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I mean, it really comes down to us as the gamer, right? Like,
yep.
we are the driving factor of this. And if all of us collectively just said, get that shit out of our face
yep.
and give us full games, then we would be fine. But no, we're still content apparently with these half-assed games that keep coming out, and we still continue to keep paying for these DLCs and these microtransactions.
Boy, you just like transitioned immediately into the next topic. I don't know how you did that, but
I already knew. See?
Yeah, that's true. I gave you an idea as to what we were talking about. Yeah, but see, here's the thing: I gave you an idea as to what the topics were, but not what order. Somehow you figured it out. You know the game, man. And so that's a perfect comment to go. And my quick sentiment on that second question is: do they have a future? Yes, of course they do. They're still here. Will they sustain themselves? I don't know, but I think that because we're seeing, and I say backwards pedal, but a back pedal on these microtransactions from just the small companies, indie development has gotten so big that it can make the largest impact by just bringing out games of quality. So I'm hoping that the indie developers will show the AAA developers how it's done. But what Nexum said kind of transitions into the next topic, which is unfinished and rushed games. Can we stop with early access, please? I'm so sick of this. I have purchased early access titles, I think 3 times.
One too many times.
Yeah, I've done it 3 times. I don't. From anybody who knows me, I don't support early access. I was a QA developer for Vicarious Visions, which is a subsidiary of Activision, and it was the greatest job I ever had. No offense to the current job that I have, but it was. I was a QA tester. I got to test a video game for a living for a very short amount of time, but it was a very eye-opening experience because I got to see the process and how in-depth you have to be in order to release a game that is finished and bug-free. It's really hard. And so I understand that it's going to take a while, but if you have a team that's dedicated enough and you have the money and the time, these AAA companies, which have money and time, should not release garbage like what was a recent terribly released game? I would have to say maybe Just Cause 4. I did just recently review that game, and it's not in a state that I would call finished personally. It is playable, obviously. The frame rate issue that they had with Just Cause 3 in the past is fixed. For the most part, the frame rate is stable, but it looks like garbage because the graphics are missing. They've taken out so many graphic options that it doesn't look current generation. And they have a resolution scaler that, which, by the way, to the person who commented on my video thinking I didn't have the credentials to review a fucking game, fuck you. I was actually right about the scaler not working. There actually is a resolution scaler in the game that supposedly may not be working correctly because the PlayStation 4 version, which should be able to pump out at least 900p to 1080p resolution, was sitting pretty at like 720p for 90% of the time that I was playing it. And I called it because I know what 720p looks like. And so it looked awful. And I'm like, I really hope this is a bug. And it seems like it might be. So points up for me. But this idea that getting games in early access, my point that I was making when I was talking about working at Vicarious, I got paid to play broken video games. I didn't pay to play broken video games. Okay? This is nonsense. You find out another way to get your money. Don't expect me to play your broken ass game. Release it for free and I'll play it. But I've only supported three major titles. PUBG, but I bought PUBG literally the day before it came out, so that doesn't count. Technically, it was early access still when I bought it, but I wanted to make a video, so I spent the $30, and now it's a piece of shit game anyway. Paragon, which sadly went under, but it actually was working. And
yeah, but that was free to play, right?
It was, yeah. Okay. I mean, in early access, you had to pay for it. It was like $20.
Okay.
And Fortnite. I supported Fortnite wholly because I've been wanting it to come out. And when it came out, in early access, quote unquote, which technically is still in early access, it worked. It worked like it should have, early access or not. So, this idea of having to release games early, and it kind of works into the first question that I have for you next, which is, should companies worry about competing or making a good game?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Because we've seen evidence of companies who make good games and succeed, and companies who decide that competing is more important and fail.
Right.
So which is more important at this point?
I mean, honestly, in my eyes, as the gamer, right, succeeding is number one, right? Because if I'm gonna spend $20-$30 for your quote-unquote early access
$60.
game.
Let's put 60 out there because there's a lot of unfinished $60 games.
You're right, actually. There's a lot of... Well, actually, I guess my thing, because I'm gonna split this up into two different categories, I guess, right? Because I see where you're going with this, and obviously it's been happening for a while, right? Where we have these big AAA game companies, like you mentioned, and they are releasing, big game titles at the price of $60 at full release is what they say, right?
Right.
And we see that they go live, but as soon as they drop, or they usually now. If you had pre-ordered the game, some of these titles you can play like a week in advance or whatever. We're seeing this trend of like, all right, I'm getting into the game and holy shit, there's about 20 bugs that I right off the bat in the first mission have already found.
Yeah.
So that in my eyes is a little bit different than what I kind of said, that $20-$30 range, because those, I guess, are the smaller companies, right? That are actually trying to make something for themselves because their development team is much smaller. Obviously, it's half the staff.
They have something to prove.
And they have something to prove, correct? Like a big thing for me, actually, and I got suckered into this, unfortunately, of the whole early access bullshit, was I got H1Z1. Mm-hmm. I got Rust. Okay. I for some reason, I really fell into this genre of survival.
Yeah.
I really like that.
It's a fun game type, and if it's done right,
Exactly right. If it's done right, that you can pull it off. And of all the ones that I had purchased into, H1Z1 was dog shit. I wish I had never bought it. They ended up even splitting and making, they had their own BR finally, and then it was like the regular game, yada yada. I just completely stopped following them altogether. The what else did I actually get? Oh, Forest. That was another one.
That one looked good.
Now, yes.
Yeah.
Now it looked good. When I had first got it, oh my God. Again, I wish I'd never paid for it because I got into it and it was shit, man. I was so disappointed because like those smaller companies, they sell you on the trailer that they develop and these screenshots that they take that I'm sure they fucking glamour up to make look all amazing, but when you actually go into the game, it's a completely different experience. It's almost it's almost like a completely not even not full, but not even like fully developed. Like the core concepts of the game aren't even there yet, right?
Right.
But like what I was going to say is that of all the ones that I dig into, Rust actually was the only one that I stuck with and I played the most out of because their development team, and I give them props for this, they went, I think in the beginning it was a little shaky. They weren't the greatest with giving out updates, I guess, because they were still on an older engine. They ended up completely changing to a newer one where the game looks much, much better. I think it was Unity, correct?
Right. Yep. Unity 5 came out and they switched to it.
Right. So they fully switched out to that. And then we finally saw, because I really followed them at that time, I saw a complete trend of, every Wednesday, Thursday, I can't remember what it was, but there is an update no matter what. It might be the slightest update, but every week they had come out with something. And I played that game for, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I can't remember how long I played it for, but I would hop on, play from time to time. And every time I was getting on, there's all these new updates and it was for the better, right? They're making it a full game where you can get in now and you're like, okay, I'm enjoying the experience. Whereas comparison to the $60 games, which you would expect to get a full thing,
right?
You're not getting it. It's these major AAA companies that we expect to be putting out full games, but you get in and there's these bugs. There's even shit that was advertised that's not even in the game.
Right. Big one is No Man's Sky for that one.
Oh my God, yeah. Big one this year that happened. Was it this year? Yeah, it was this year.
No, that was I think it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a perfect example, right? They preached to us. They were like, guys, you're going to get this crazy open world space game. There's so much to do, yada, yada.
Okay, 2016. And here you go. So it's 2 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Time is flying by.
Yeah. We're old.
Yeah, I know. But, as they released it, right? Like just sheer and utter disappointment of anyone who got the game. There were like those few people that got it that were like, but wait, it's still really big and cool. Yeah. But it's like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
When I got the game, I wanted to be able to fly around, build all these cities at different planets and, kill monsters, yada, yada, whatever it was. But in that game, there was nothing. Literally, they literally had nothing in the game, which made it so upsetting to a lot of gamers.
The most valuable thing you could do in No Man's Sky was to find a gold ore, like a giant. I mean, the gold that you found were these giant mountainous looking things, but it was a ton of money. The best thing you could do, the most valuable thing you could do is go and mine those and then sell all that shit. And then get tons of money. And that was it. But there was nothing to build. All you did was mine shit. There was these objectives you could go and do on the planets, but to cover one entire planet would take you a lifetime to do all the activities on a planet. And there's apparently a Googleplex of planets or whatever the heck number they decided to throw out there.
It's infinite, apparently.
Yeah.
Which I mean, oh, sorry.
No, you reminded me when you said Rust. There was one other early access game, and I'm going to say that this one actually is fun. 7 Days to Die. I bought into it.
Yes, I got into that one as well.
Yep, I bought into it because my friend Skittles, she had it, and I was like, I'm gonna play with you. and it was awesome, and it ran like dog shit, but it actually it was fun to play, it was fun to build, it was fun to try and survive. It was really hard. It was definitely one of the harder survival games. And then when I started looking at their dev diaries, and I think it was Alpha Update 17 was going to change a ton of stuff, like physics was a big part of the change. Physics where zombies interacting with cars, getting run over, zombies, the way they walked and the way they acted when you hit them, it was all changing. But the bottom line is that because 7 Days to Die felt like it had everything, it was just rough. I didn't mind spending, I think it was like the $30 that it cost to buy it. I mean, there was more than enough stuff for me to do. And there's just, compare that with No Man's Sky, which is supposedly a polished game. Not only did No Man's Sky look like shit, it didn't run like shit, but it looked like shit, and there was literally nothing to do in it. It was not worth twice the price. And so, obviously right now, No Man's Sky is being praised as like one of the best games because there's everything that they promised is now in the game. But it took them 2 fucking years to do that. So why didn't they just wait 2 more years? What harm would it have done? I mean,
I almost start to question: is it actually something that the company itself, like, maybe they genuinely, what am I trying to say? Like, what if they get to a point, right? Because I mean, you got to think too, like these smaller. Well, who's that developed by the way?
Hello Games.
Hello Games, okay. Not familiar with them at all, but just to put in perspective, kind of like I just imagine like all these early access developers, right? In my eyes, I see them as like smaller companies, and obviously they're not huge, right? But you have a map developer, you have somebody who does character design. Right. These are people who are on that team that are humans, and they need to get paid. We all need to make money somehow, right, to survive,
which is unfortunate.
Which is unfortunate, right? But I'm wondering if that's what kind of drove this whole early access theme, right?
Yeah,
maybe those companies needed to release the games in a state where they actually could get a little bit more money from us to continue development, right? Because I almost think that they needed to pitch to the bigger man and say, hey, here's this great concept we have. Let us start development with, X amount of dollars.
Right.
Let's see how far we can get. And then let's sell it to the crowd and see what happens.
Well, and here's the thing with all that is that you're not wrong for sure. We are the big guy. The customers are the big guy saying, okay, here's a few dollars, start making this game. All of this shit started with Kickstarter. And if you had a concept, but here's the big kicker, no pun intended. The biggest kicker is that it takes literally nothing to develop a video game these days. You can get the engine for free. You can get 3D modeling programs for free. You can get programming programs for free. Everything is free. The only thing people want to get paid for is their time and their talent, which is fine. Okay, it's fine. You are way more talented than I am. You know your shit. You should get paid for it. However, you don't have to pay for anything to start making a video game ever.
Yeah,
and I realized this. I realized this a long time ago. I'm like, you can get everything you need to make a video game for free. You just have to spend the time to do it. So, and some people, they quit their day jobs just to do this full time, and so they're expecting to get paid. But what if you took the time, got a day job, had money, decent money, and then developed your game over time in your spare time? I mean, sure, you might have to, forego a major social life, but I mean, it's really, what are you driven by? Your desire to make the game, or your desire to be a socialite or something like that. I mean, it really depends on what your goals are. And if your goal is to make a video game, there are ways to get paid to do it without having to ask the people to do it. Don't ask us for $60 for something that's broken. It's wrong. It's so wrong. And I just don't agree with it. But I retract that statement a tiny bit. I still don't agree with it, but I have, fallen into it because 7 Days to Die was an outlier. That turned out to be good because I had the recommendation of a very good friend of mine, Private Skittles. She said it was great. It was just tons of fun to play. She was right. The other games, Fortnite, Paragon, PUBG, I actually got to try before I bought it. My buddy had it. So I was like, let me try this. I felt the adrenaline rush. I'm like, I'm back in my SOCOM days. This feels great. And so I went home and bought it. So I had experienced the game and I knew I wanted to buy it before it was released, just before it was released. As far as Paragon and Fortnite goes, Epic Games are a well-known developer. They've made amazing games in the past. Gears of War, for those of you who don't know, they created Gears of War with Cliff Bleszinski. And their pedigree is very well known, and so I had no problem supporting them in their games. It's a sad state that they had to take down Paragon, but it was the wrong time to release a MOBA. It was just not a good time because MOBAs were on their way out and Battle Royales were on their way in, which is why Fortnite, the Battle Royale version, just appeared out of nowhere in a few months because they could do it. But Fortnite, for those of you who don't know, was originally a co-op game. And I'm telling you right now, exactly. It's worth the $30, okay? It's absolutely worth the $30. Pay the $30, play with us. It's a lot of fun. But other than that, I had no problem buying into the early access because I knew the developers. I understood the developers, and I knew that I could trust them to make a decent game. And I've been right every single time. PUBG started out as a great game. Then they decided to make, poor business decisions that I didn't agree with, and now it's a shitty game. It's still a shitty game. It may run better, quote unquote, run better, but it's still a shitty game. That, I mean, if you looked at it, you wouldn't guess that it was on Unreal Engine 4, especially with games like, what the hell was like Gears of War. Gears of War runs on Unreal Engine 4, if I'm not mistaken. Gears of War 4, that is. When you've got games that look and sound and play better on that engine, and then you look at PUBG and you're like, this is on Unreal Engine? Like, what? And the same goes for the fucking Friday the 13th game. That looks like shit. That's on Unreal Engine 4. So it's
interesting.
Like, what is going on? This thing this engine is one of the most graphically pleasing looking engines I've ever seen, and this is what people are producing. So yeah, at the time, PUBG, I enjoyed it. I did trust the developer to do the right thing. They didn't. That was the one time I got burned. But 7 Days, Paragon, Fortnite, fantastic games. And it's all because I did my research. The sad part is the general consumer is not going to do their research. They're just going to read some dickhead on a forum say, oh, this game is great, you should buy it. And they just buy it blindly without looking past that one guy who said it was great and seeing all the people who said it was shitty. I mean, it's just like, and then it's vice versa on that one. Don't look at the first guy who says it's a piece of shit because he just hates the company, and just bypass all the people below him that say, here's what's good and here's what's bad. Like, get an actual representation of the game itself and make the decision with an educated guess, not, you are making a guess when you go into early access. You're not sure what you're going to get. It's a gamble, like microtransactions. But, at least do your research first. And I did my research with the games that I went into early access to. Even though I don't agree with the practice, I have done it, and I fully admit that. But it's because I did my research that I had committed to those purchases. And most people just don't do that. They just go in, they buy the game because, oh, one trailer made it look cool. And it's like, that trailer was all cinematic. Of course it's going to look cool. You idiot. So
that's how they get us.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's fucking insane that early access has taken off just like microtransactions, like it shouldn't have. We should not support paying for broken games. Period.
Right. Yeah.
So, that's going to lead, it sort of leads into the next question. The second question of Unfinished and Rushed Games is, how long should development cycles take? Now, this question was prompted by Star Citizen. This game has been on and I don't give a fuck who the hell you are. You look back when development starts. I was in the business, all right? I know when development starts, it starts when somebody writes the first fucking thing on a page, all right? That's development right there. So don't give me this shit about, oh, it started in 2013 because he had the concept. No, he had the fucking concept in 2011, okay? The game is damn near 7 years into development. So don't fucking tell me that it's only 5 years. Go fuck yourself. Development of Star Citizen started in 2011. The concept was thought up, it was drawn out, and then they started development. They started the Kickstarter in 2012, and then they started real development, as most other people would say, in 2013. So physical development of the actual game itself started 5 years ago. But the overall concept started 7 years ago. 7 years, and by the way, fully crowdfunded through Kickstarter and their own website. $200 million went into the development of this game. It's the most crowdfunded indie developed game in history. And it blows my mind that it got that much money. But when you're selling fake ships for $10,000 and people are stupid enough to buy it, you're going to make a few bucks. Now, Chris Roberts developed the original Wing Commander games, and they were a huge hit. You know, obviously, I think with a cast, a leading role like Mark Hamill, it's going to do well. I think, he's a great actor. So, but he developed the original Wing Commander games and didn't do anything for at least easily more than a decade. I don't even know how long it was before he decided to start working on another game. But the whole point of this is it's taking 7 years and the game is just starting to show signs of being released. We're talking maybe Squadron 42 comes out next year in 2019, so that's 8 years after development started. Though apparently, according to some people, Squadron 42 was an afterthought. The MMO portion of Star Citizen was the first and foremost, and then Squadron 42 was started afterwards. So either way, doesn't matter. It's been in development that long, and Squadron 42 may come out next year. May. And then the MMO portion may come out in 2020, supposedly. So if, for the sake of saying, Star Citizen, the full experience, Squadron 42 and the MMO come out in 2020. That is 9 years in development. Now, I'm not saying companies shouldn't take their time. They absolutely should, especially in this day and age where companies like EA and Ubisoft and Activision are pumping out yearly releases of games that are getting stale and boring. Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, which, by the way, Odyssey is not an Assassin's Creed game. Those types of games, they're getting pumped out every year now. And they're just getting boring. So it's refreshing to see, a company take their time to make sure it's perfection. Chris Roberts' pedigree speaks for itself. The guy is taking his time. But how long is too long? Should it only be 5 years? Should it be 6 years? Are we able to dictate just how long a game should take to develop? And I guess it really depends on the scope. But what do you think, Nexum? Do you think 7 years or 8 years or 9 years is too long for a video game to be in development? Because they're just building up hype. They've let people play a little bit of it. They've let people fly around in ships, and now it's just like people want it. They want it more and more and more. And so it's just constant hype train. And eventually it's just going to die down unless they capitalize on the hype that they've surrounded their game with.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I mean, really, I think it comes down to, I don't want to, well, yeah, the developer, right? I mean, It depends on the type of game that they're going to release. Like, for instance, similar to, Citizens is, look at Skyrim, right? That came out in 2011.
Yep.
Now, we supposedly have some type of news that the next in the Elder Scrolls series isn't going to come out until 2020.
Oh yeah,
I heard. So I mean, there you go. That's 9 years in development, right? For the next big game.
Supposedly, that's allegedly because they said they haven't even started. development, according to Bethesda, because they're still working on Starfield, but who knows what the truth
correct.
is.
You're right. I mean, they could also be doing things in hush hush, Yeah. But theoretically, right. But just as a comparison, right? Again, like the next one would be at this point going on, what is it? Yeah, 8+ years now.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's tough to really gauge as the gamer, because sure, like you mentioned, once the development company starts like giving us these little snippets of like, oh, hey, here's this new game we're coming out with, and then they kind of keep building it up. Obviously, we're getting hyped up. We're going to start, buying into it, doing the whole pre-order thing or whatever it may be. But I mean, when we do that, in our minds, we would hopefully get the game within, I mean, best case scenario, that year or the following year. But when it goes beyond that, we see a trend of people really going, oh, what's that? Like, oh yeah, I actually did sign up for that. I totally forgot about it. Is that still in development? Some people just completely forget about those games because they just took so long.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. It's really hard for me to. I guess it's a hard question to answer, right? Because, like I said, it comes down to the type of game that you're developing. I mean, in this case, because I just actually did a little bit of research while you were talking, I'm looking at the Squadron game because this is something that I didn't even know about.
I'm very excited about Squadron 42. By the way, I'm a huge single player person and co-op. I love co-op games, but this looks amazing. By the way, this is running on Amazon's Lumberyard engine, which they developed a few years ago. And so,
interesting.
Yeah, it looks amazing on a brand new engine. So it's definitely something I'm interested in.
It looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
because I'm on the website now, and I think actually I have seen this trend actually. If you've noticed, any type of game that has anything to do with space, for some reason takes fucking forever to develop.
Well, I mean, the universe is vast and huge, so
that's part of it. But no, I mean, and I think that we're trying. I feel like still to this day though, I guess No Man's Sky would be I guess, well, no, because then I'm remembering I love the Dead Space series, and that's developed in space, right?
So,
I'm just trying to remember the first like memorable space immersed game that I've played, right? Where I can really go like, holy shit, like, I got into a spaceship, I was like flying around, but then I got out of my spaceship and I started doing shit.
Did you ever play Mass Effect?
I did not actually, and that was actually, I know those games are very, very well known for that.
Oh yeah.
That actually might be on my list to play.
I mean, there's not space battles. There's no space battles in Mass Effect, but
those are more like story kind of driven.
Yeah. Story driven. Right. You go to the planets, you do stuff on the planet, but there's no like space battles like Battlefront or anything like that.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
I mean, shit, look at Star Fox 64.
Yeah.
Fucking best game on the planet.
Going old school on us here.
Going really old school. But, I mean, honestly, fucking brilliant concept, right?
Yep.
It's just you load in, you get to fly around, shoot a bunch of space rocks, kill the enemies. Like, I don't know. Like, that was a great game, right? Yeah. Now, obviously, 2018 going into 2019, obviously technology has blown us away from what it's capable of, and now we're at a point where developers are making these surreal experienced space games, and just by looking at this, what I'm seeing from the photos, I want to buy it. I'm about to pre-order now. It looks phenomenal.
Yep. PC only,
but again, PC only. Interesting. Okay.
He's very hardcore into PC. Chris Roberts explicitly stated that the consoles would not be powerful enough to run this game. So, he's an elitist.
Let's be honest, though, right? And I'm not going to preach the PC master race.
Yeah.
That argument to me is. I mean, yes, I'm a PC gamer. It's stupid. But I will say this. If I were right now to take the latest gen consoles, Xbox, PS4, whatever, and compare them to even my computer right now, my computer's still going to blow them out of the water.
Still, and your computer's at least 5 years old.
Exactly. And that's just the sheer fact, because what we put into these consoles, we make it more abundant for people who can't spend $1,000 on something that, you know what I mean? Because building your own gaming computer, that shit's not cheap.
Nope.
You know,
nope.
Whereas
cheaper than it used to be, but not cheap.
Yeah, but still not cheap. That's why we see, you know, Xbox, PS4, all consoles came out. They made it. Don't get me wrong. Some of the games that we play on them look absolutely beautiful, right?
Yeah.
You can still play them 1080p on, you know, really great TVs.
Yep.
And it looks phenomenal. But you know, to your point for the space game is that, yeah, I don't even think I would want to play this on a console, right? I would get the full immersed experience on a souped up, powerful computer.
It's a good thing we're thinking about rebuilding your computer, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Just in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess development in a game, in my eyes, it really comes down to the team, you know, the development team. It's hard to gauge from our perspective, because sure as shit, we as the gamers, yeah, if you showed us something, like if you showed me a game, you know, probably the next best game ever, whatever, you showed me a trailer for it today.
Yep.
I want to play it right now. Yep. I don't want to wait. You know what I mean? It's just it's how we're built as humans. Like, I want to get behind it. I want to start playing it. I don't even want to wait.
Right. I want it now. I want it now. I want it now.
Right. But on the flip side, we need to kind of control ourselves in the sense, because, you know, thanks to this early access thing, I'm going to bring that up again, but, you know, that was our kind of like coax, right? We were like, oh, fuck it. Yeah, I need to buy it now. I need to get into it. And then you get into it and you go, holy shit, this is dog shit. Why'd I spend the money?
Very good point.
Right?
Very good point. It was that need to feed the buy it now.
Exactly, right. Whereas now, I mean, shit. He can keep going. If this becomes the next incredible, you know, if this game wins like Game of the Year 3 years in a row when it's released, that's going to say something, right? I mean, look at it. And as the title, I'll say it right now, look at the Half-Life 2 series.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is a, like, staple in the gaming industry in my eyes.
Well, 100%.
I mean, that game, look at it. I mean, I think it literally won Game of the Year. Like I just said, I think it might have won it 3 games in a year, because at that time it was so impressive with all the things you could do in it. And I mean, story was incredible. And I mean, Valve wasn't a piece of shit back then. I'm sorry to say. They actually cared about making games that were incredible. I mean, take Portal.
Yeah.
Portal blew us all away with the concept.
I absolutely
right?
love Portal.
It was such a like simple concept, right? When you think about it, like, oh yeah, Portal, you can go through things, but then add puzzles into it, and it's a completely different world as soon as they added that.
Oh yeah.
So you see a definite like trend in companies that, you know, when they take their time, it pays off.
Yep. And you know, you say that Valve, you know, wasn't a piece of shit back then. That I really think that statement alone holds merit for them back then, because you're right. Half-Life 1 was one of the first major first-person shooters on console. And it kind of drove that genre into the console space, because it's always been on PC. But when Half-Life 1 came out on console, it drove that genre. It was probably one of the defining games for that genre. And so Valve was amazing, and their explanation as to why they're not making Half-Life 3 is absolute garbage. They said they're not making it because they're afraid of not making a good enough game. It's like, you guys never worried about that before? Did you worry about that when you made Half-Life 2 and people were just blown away by it? I mean, come on, what kind of lazy ass excuse is that?
Yeah, and actually, just as you're talking, just to put it into perspective, right? I pulled up the original Half-Life, right?
Yep.
Released in '98.
Whew.
Which, right.
Woo!
It won over 50 PC Game of the Year awards. That's insane.
Yep.
In 98.
And then in 2000, 2 years later, the PlayStation 2 comes out, and it's one of the first-person shooters before Halo, by the way, to ever make it on console. Halo defined the Xbox. It didn't define first-person shooters. Half-Life did. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah, exactly.
Half-Life came out before Halo, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna have to double check that, okay? But I'm pretty sure that Half-Life came out before it did.
98.
You know, I mean, on PlayStation 2 though.
Oh, yeah, right. Hold
on. The first release is 98. Half-Life 1. Let's see, 98. Announced in 2000. Originally, actually slated for the Dreamcast, which I didn't realize.
Oh, you're right. I did forget about that. They were actually planning on doing that.
Yeah, that didn't last very long. But it was released, let's see. It looks like maybe 2001, I would say, probably 2001 for PlayStation 2. So, you know, 2000, 2001. The first Halo, you know, and I'm fully accepting if I'm wrong here. It's not that big a deal if I'm wrong here, but Halo 1 released in November of 2001, whereas Half-Life 1 released on PlayStation 2 in June. So it was actually, I'm pretty sure that's correct, but it was actually released earlier on that year. Let's see, the third expansion. Okay, so they're talking about Half-Life Decay, but the original Half-Life game, yep, it says 2001 on PlayStation 2, and it was actually ported by Gearbox, which, I mean, they were relatively new back then as well. They don't say exactly what year Half-Life 1 was released on the PlayStation 2, but it was 2001. More than likely, it was in the earlier portion of the year. But either way, Half-Life 1 has been touted as defining the genre for consoles, for sure. So, you know, like I said, Halo made Xbox, and it improved on the FPS genre, but it did not define the FPS genre for consoles. So, you know, that excuse of theirs where it's like, oh, we don't want to disappoint people. It's like, but you didn't with Half-Life 2. You seemed pretty confident then. Why can't you be confident now? And they go on teasing everybody with that. Remember that one video they released where it was somebody who was about to push the 3 button on an elevator, and then they just went to something else? Kind of like, just like, ooh, we're going to make 3. We're not going to make 3. It was a really stupid video, but people got talking about it. It's like, are they going to make Half-Life 3? Are they going to make Left 4 Dead 3? What's going on? And so they're clearly doing something. I don't know if they're just fucking with people,
it's actually Ricochet 3.
Yeah.
I would probably go to Gabe's house and burn him down.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Lord Gaben, we forgive thee only certain amounts. So, you know, development cycles, I guess, we got way off track, but that's okay.
We did.
Development cycles in general, there has to be a happy medium. And, you know, I'm all for companies taking their time with their games, but don't make it too long. And especially after you've added hype to people's expectations, you know, letting people play the game, letting people even touch it. No, you know, and this, again, brings it back to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I didn't know about the game until it was released. Had no idea. I fully believe that until a game is like ready to be released, don't show anything. That builds the expectations right there. Let's say you got a game, it's finished, you're ready to unveil it a week ahead of time, and then the next week release it. That's how it should be done. Look at what happened with Fallout 4 and Fallout Shelter. That year that they released, 2016. Fallout Shelter, Bethesda announced that night.
Oh,
that
yeah,
night.
You're right.
And they released it that night. And then they announced the release of Fallout 4 later that year, only a few months away. Even if it's a few months away, that's how you should do it. That's exactly how you should release a game. Wait till you finished it and then release it. It really is. It really is. It blew my mind. I watched one trailer on Hellblade on Steam, and then I bought it. It was that quick because it looks so good, and I'm happy I bought it because it was only $30, and the trailer sold me. But unfortunately, we are going to have to end the podcast there. As an initial podcast, I think an hour and a half is definitely pretty good on 2 topics.
I think that's a pretty good pilot.
I did have other topics to talk about, but we can save those for another episode because why not? We need more content. So for right now, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, if you stuck with us throughout this hour and a half. I know people like long podcasts, but we do plan on having more in the future. And next, I do appreciate you joining me and starting this up with me. I think that I had a lot of fun tonight. This is awesome, and I can't wait to do this more.
Me too. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Honestly, we could talk endlessly about all sorts of topics.
Just these 2 topics, apparently.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
But we do have to end it at some point because people got lives to get back to. But if you did enjoy this this first inaugural episode, definitely hit that like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, there will be a video associated with this. In the future, I'm hoping to have it be our talking heads, but for right now, it's just gameplay footage and everything like that. We'll have more content on the YouTube channel for sure. Highlights and stuff like that of us playing games together and whatnot, and being fucking stupid. But also keep in mind that I am actually in the process of developing a website. This will be in audio form. You'll be able to download it and take it with you if you want to. So be on the lookout for that for sure. And definitely get subscribed if you haven't already. There's going to be more content coming out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get this out to as many people as possible. And I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. Thank you so much. Get subscribed, and I'm Reaper. He's Nexum, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.